This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Minke, President of the Urbandale Chamber of Commerce. The Urbandale Chamber is excited to provide you with this opportunity to get to know a little bit more about the candidates running for Urbandale School Board and the City Council. Thank you so much for taking the time to educate yourself on each of the candidates that are running, and we encourage you to vote on November 7th. Hello, I'm Tiffany Minke, President of the Urbandale Chamber of Commerce, and our guest today is Pat Boddy. She is a candidate for Urbandale City Council, and she is one of our former Citizens of the Year. So we're very familiar with Pat here at the Chamber. Thank you so much for taking time to meet with us today. The Chamber's excited to provide the community with an opportunity just to get to know a little bit more about you and learn why you're wanting to serve on the Urbandale City Council. So we're going to ask some questions. First question, you're going to have 2 minutes to respond. After that, all of the questions, if you could just keep your response to about a minute.
Sure.
And yeah, the first question is pretty easy. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, that's not as easy as you think, right? But and thanks for doing this, and it's a pleasure to be here. My husband and I celebrate almost 50 years of marriage, 48 years this year. We have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. I'm Baba to 3-year-old Jack. Teddy is at 6 months, too young to call me anything. I'm a soil and water conservation engineer, professionally licensed, and I'm a past and current small business owner. I'm retired as a senior partner from a national architectural and planning firm locally headquartered, past executive director of Polk County Conservation, and past interim and deputy director of the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. I'm an active community volunteer, and I'm active. I love our trails and parks. I spend a lot of time out there. I hike, I bike, I walk. I might say I bike slowly. I paddle whenever I can. And in my spare time, I have 2 things I love to do. One is work with a poetry group that promotes poetry for the public. And so you be watching Urbandalians because poetry and pie in the park should be coming to Urbandale sometime this spring. So join us for the free pie and stay for the poetry.
Oh, there you go. Nice plug.
Yes. And then I love to play the harp. And I play in a duo called Pullin' Strings. But last summer, I got a real joy by getting to play with a flute player friend of mine in Walker Johnston Park as part of Urbandale's Public Art Foundation program. That was a delight, and we're coming back this spring to do that again. So that's fun. But my passion is my family and my friends, and therefore I'm extremely passionate about the great outdoors, water quality, and climate.
Wonderful. Well, is there a particular issue that is motivating you to serve on the school board?
Well, I've already mentioned climate change. We think of this as a global issue, which of course it is, but it has to be faced locally as well. We've got to be doing actions that prepare our infrastructure for what's coming ahead, and also to have our role to play. We have our role to play in kind of mitigating climate change, climate impacts, and we can play a leadership role. And pretty much any issue that we care about in Urbandale, whether it's housing, transportation, food security, public safety, economic vitality, the whole 9 yards, even keeping taxes low, it all matters, and it's all connected to climate change in some way.
Yeah. So you have such a great background. Tell us a little bit more about what skills you have in particular that you have that has prepared you to serve on the council.
Well, I've lived here 25 years. I've raised my family here, so that's a starter.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned my volunteer activities. I've worked on and am working on the Capital Improvements Committee, Complete Streets, raised money to help with some of our parks projects. I wasn't as effective as my friend Bruce Bernard, but I tried. And then I'm a trustee for the Urbandale Water Utility. I'm also experienced in communications and facilitation and really working hard to bring people together, to collaborate, to build consensus. And I really think that piece of my background is going to be important on the council. I'd like to promote unity, and I think that's a key piece of background.
I think that's great. We're going to switch up just a little bit and go into some economic development areas. Are you in favor of the city acquiring property in downtown Urbandale to partner with private developers to develop new retail shops and stimulate growth? And why or why not?
Well, I really want to revitalize downtown Urbandale. And so I think it would be unwise to cross out any particular strategy that might have its value, that might come into play. So I wouldn't do that. And it depends upon the project and the approach. But if you're asking me, would I support buying property speculatively? Possibly. Again, depends on the project and the approach. But I'd be much more inclined to work really hard to make sure as we went in to do such a purchase that we already had pre-identified a partner who'd made a commitment, that was dedicated, really had skin in the game. So that's the way I would be most likely to support that kind of strategy. But again, let's not rule things out. Let's make this happen.
So what is your vision? You know, downtown Urbandale is such an important part of our community. What is your vision for downtown Urbandale?
Well, for starters, we need to discourage people from just blowing through Douglas Avenue.
Yeah.
And so the streetscape piece is going to be a critical part of this. We really need to promote pedestrian activity, whether you're walking, biking, strolling, rollerblading, whatever. We need to create that environment where people feel comfortable being on foot or not motorized, right? I also think we'll need to use multiple approaches, both in terms of housing and business, and we need different kinds of businesses there, service businesses, dining businesses, entertainments. And one of the things that's part of my vision here is that I've been door knocking, right? And people are talking about the cultural diversity of Urbandale. People aren't aware of that, but they can and should be. And as we revitalize downtown Des Moines, that would be a great place to make it happen. But I really think a piece of the vision is going to be part of the process. The public needs to be engaged. They need to be fully with us as we do whatever we do here. And we need partnerships and collaboration. So process matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the ways that the city can encourage business and employment growth in Urbandale? That's a critical issue for us.
Well, affordable transportation and affordable housing is kind of key. If people cannot get here, if they can't live here and they can't get here, then we've lost. We also want to keep our taxes low. I'm a small business owner. I like having low taxes. Everybody does. So we want to do our best to make things affordable for the employers as well. We also need reasonable rules and regulations. One of the things I keep bringing up is as we've gone through the comp plan, we've discovered just how stringent our parking requirements are. We ask for a lot of parking spaces for a restaurant. That's why it's been difficult for us to get some of the diversity of dining and those kinds of entertainments that we would like to have. So we need to make sure our rules and regs make sense and that we get easy access to information, as much as one-stop shop as possible for finding out what your requirements are if you're a business person wanting to move into Urbandale. And then ultimately you have to listen to the employers and employees themselves to get it right.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Let's just talk a little bit about the comp plan. With the new comp plan, how do you expect that to change development opportunities in Urbandale?
Well, the comp plan's not done, and so there's still public engagement. There's still a final draft to be pulled together, so we'll have to see how that all plays out and teases out. And I'm not sure that I think it would change the opportunities half as much as there would be, it's a long word, reprioritization. I think we would change the order of what we really want to push for, because it's really talking about taking, I think it's roughly 1,400 acres that we already have within our city limits that have utilities, they have infrastructure, they're ready to be developed, and that would be the priority, would be to go there versus leapfrogging over that to try and do something else. So I think that would be maybe a shift a little bit, and this will help keep services in Urbandale affordable.
Perfect. So what do you believe is the number one responsibility to the number one responsibility of city government to its citizens?
Well, it's to protect the lives and property of its residents, without a doubt. And that means supporting public safety, fire, police, crisis intervention teams. It also means thinking about health and wellness of your citizenry, which really leads to needing those parks and trails. We think of them as amenities and niceties, but they're not. They're really much more necessities than we give them credit for. And then ultimately, infrastructure really matters here. Kind of going back, I'm afraid, to a climate theme, but we all remember what happened on July 2nd of 2018 when a wonderful Des Moines citizen lost his life and a home in Urbandale exploded because of the flooding. And so we really need to make sure our infrastructure is prepared. That is also part of the protecting lives and property message.
So I'm going to end with this final question. What is one thing you want to accomplish in a 4-year term on the City Council?
Well, all of the issues that we've been touching on, housing, transportation, food security, public safety, et cetera, they all matter. I've already mentioned they're linked in many ways by what we look at for climate. And so a climate action plan would be one of my priority pieces. And by that, I mean we pull something together that really touches on all of those different activities, but in a way that gets climate change addressed from those two aspects, both preventing it from getting worse, doing our part in leading in that regard, and also preparing our infrastructure. But the emphasis is on the word action, not on the word plan. I would want to see it implemented, see it executed, and that would be one of my priorities.
Perfect.
But I want to work on all of those things.
There's a lot, isn't there?
There's a
It's
lot.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, Pat. Thank you so much. And the Chamber, we wish you the best of success. So thank you.
Well, again, and thank you for doing this. Very kind of you.
Appreciate it.
Take care.